So I read something interesting a couple days ago, that Rand Paul, those of you who know who that is, son of Ron Paul, senator now, Senator Rand Paul, is going to try and file a class action lawsuit against President Obama himself for the NSA spying that's been taking place. And basically he says if anyone wants to join the class action lawsuit, all you have to do is be an owner of a cell phone, because if you've got a cell phone, you've definitely been spied on by the NSA, so you therefore qualify to be in the class action. Now, be a little problem I'm going to go ahead and tell you now, which is a problem I always talk about. He's going to file a lawsuit, which means it has to go to a court. And a court's going to have to rule probably right off the bat before it even goes anywhere. Is this even worthy of being a class action, for one thing? And are we even going to deal with this case? Now, any normal judge, constitutional judge, would say, yes, this is America. People do have the right to sue for things, and there is definitely some standing here where I can see where this guy wants to sue the president for spying. So yeah, we'll go ahead and take the case. That's how it should go. But when you have a judge that has been appointed, also known as being selected and not elected, that means the judge was put in power by someone. He was selected, he was appointed. And by chance, the person that keeps appointing these judges just so happens to be whoever is president at the time of the appointment. So, I used to use an example of like the crime families, the mafia. And the head mafia guy in the family is the dad, okay? He's got 3 sons, a couple of daughters, his wife, his uncle, you know what I mean, his brother, all that stuff. And the head crime boss, who's the father of this particular family, got in a lot of trouble. Got in a lot of trouble. But the good news is that all 3 of his sons are basically Supreme Court justice, federal judge, and another district judge. That's their position. And by chance, it's going to go to the Supreme Court, and all members of the Supreme Court, not all, I shouldn't say all, because there's 9 of them, so 5 out of the 9, that way they have a majority rule, 5 out of the 9 judges are mafioso pals, appointed. What do you think the chances are that the ruling will not go in favor of the crime boss father for murdering, 27 other people? Not guilty. 5-4 ruling, as you will expect, not guilty. To leave the rest of us sheep with that same feeling that I always say, which is, darn it, we'll get him next time when we vote. Oh, wait a minute. You didn't vote for those guys. They were appointed. Oh. So how do you get rid of them? Oh, they just have to die off. We'll get them next time when they die off in, 40 years from now. Right. And then guess what? Oh, we've got a couple of vacant positions up, need to be filled. Well, I guess the president at that time will just appoint them. And as I always say, and you should know this by now, the president himself, whoever that may be, does not go into office thinking, I know exactly who I'm going to appoint into each of these positions. I know which 2 new Supreme Court justices I'm going to have. I know these 3 federal court judges I have to get. I know all of them. I've already got in my mind who I'm going to appoint. Federal Reserve, I know who I'm going to pick. The Treasury, head of the Treasury Department, I know who I'm going to pick. Treasury Secretary so-and-so. No. Not a chance in hell. These guys are all appointed, and the president, who knows nothing about nothing, will listen to his advisors like the rest of them before him. And their advisors will be like, you need to pick these guys as your Supreme Court justices, you need to pick that guy as a new federal court judge, district judge, and you need to pick this guy as your head of your Federal Reserve, and you need to pick that guy over there as head of the Treasury Department, as Mr. Treasury Secretary. And then what do? I'm the big shot, I'm the CEO in charge, I'm gonna do it. I made the decisions. These are my decisions, these are my appointments. When in reality, no they're not. Somebody else appointed them. You just basically put your name brand on it and said that it was me and stamped your little signature on there to say that you did it. So when you look at something like this and you say, well, that's how this particular country we're talking about operates, you then will say, that's not a democracy. Because in a democracy, all key positions, basically, are votable. They're voted in. You have to vote for everybody. So if you have the key positions that actually rule on certain things that you may find unconstitutional, or the people may find unconstitutional or unlawful, those are pretty key positions that absolutely should be something you gotta vote on. Not have someone that you voted on then have the power to appoint all these people. Because what you then have is like some of these pop stars or rap stars or whatever, and they got their entourage who don't do anything but hang out. Hey, we were friends, we grew up, I made it. I'm a multi-millionaire now. You know, making 30, 40 million, $50 million a year. I'm that good. I'm bringing my entourage. I'm paying them all $100,000 a year salary to do nothing but hang out and chill. Oh. And then again, you look at the politics and say, you know, it's kind of like that too. How much does a Supreme Court justice make? I don't know the actual number, but I can already tell you it's pretty significant. Federal court judges, they get a nice pretty penny. The Treasury Secretary, the head of the Federal Reserve, boy, I bet these guys are getting paid some high dollars. That's the entourage. And the entourage, you get in some trouble, someone's talking crap to you, they're wanting to fight you, your entourage will be all over it. They got your back. Even though they know, man, you started it. You shouldn't have said that, you shouldn't have pushed the guy. You did anyways, but we're your boys, we got your back, son, we got your back. They're not gonna tell them, hey, don't do that again, that was wrong. Or else you're not gonna be part of the entourage. You're not getting 100K anymore. You're the party foul guy. Get the hell out of here, we don't like you. Get lost. So, that's how politics work. So if that's how they work, how does that get fixed? Because nothing lasts forever, and as history shows us, we go from, you know, oligarchies to dictatorships to democracies to anarchy, back to, you know, full circle. I did have multiple videos on this. If you want to see them, they're the same thing basically. I just decided to redo them every now and then because I feel like they're kind of important. Just look up, you know, JSNEP4 or Realist News, the cycles of government. That should do it. And it goes on to explain, back in I think Socrates' time, ancient philosopher, how he and a couple other people had their theories on how the cycles of government work, and seeing how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago that was, seeing all these different types of governments and societies come and go. These guys were pretty spot on, and they quickly realized there were multiple, I believe there was three or four main forms of government, like oligarchy, dictatorship, democracy, right? Those are the three main types or something like that. And each of those main types had 2 or 3 subtypes, each of them. And it was interesting to see. So the funny thing was, from what I remember, is that democracy was one of the last phases of the cycle. So it doesn't last long, and then something new comes. And what comes after democracy, if I remember correctly, I think is a bit of anarchy. And then of course people realize that's not going to work, being, you know, archaic. Anarchy is not gonna, that's not the solution. We do need government. We do need rules, right? We need laws. We need protection. We gotta have government. So then they start the cycle over again. And literally hundreds and hundreds of years will go by before that cycle changes. So considering that none of us are gonna live that long, I do think we're gonna be around long enough to see at least the beginning of the end of this democracy. I mean, I'm 36 years old now. I don't think this democracy we're in now, with how fast things happen, like how fast technology changes. We got the internet, we got the transfer of information happening so quickly now. I just don't see this lasting a whole lot longer in its current form. So the people have to do something, and again, because everyone's reactionary, it remains to be seen what the people do. But whatever happens, democracy is not lasting too much longer, right? It can't. I mean, it can't. You see the Department of Homeland Security buying up all the ammo, buying up bulletproof checkpoints. You know what I mean? They're not doing this because they're worried that terrorists are coming over here. The Department of Homeland Security is the same exact name, basically in German, that Hitler created during his reign. The Department of the Homeland, I think is what his was called. And its job was not to go against and fight bad guys and terrorists and foreigners. It was strictly to deal with the citizens of Germany who might try to stir up any trouble and get in the way of what Hitler wanted to do. So we already have this infrastructure, so to speak, sitting here on standby. Because the Department of Homeland Security, as you've seen, for the last 12 years or whatever long this thing's been around, hasn't done a damn thing. It's not out there fighting terrorism. It's not out there pulling people over, issuing speeding tickets, right? It's not doing FBI investigative work. I mean, what is it there for? Why did it just buy over the last couple of years over $1 billion to $2 billion, whatever the total number was, 1.6 billion, whatever it ended up equaling, rounds of ammunition? And not just regular ammunition, like for target practice. We're talking hollow point. Hollow point ammunition is to stop and kill people dead. And it's the type of ammunition that you wouldn't expect your military to have, because it's not like assault rifle type of ammunition, but it was like handgun type of ammunition, which is exactly what the force you would need against people, if you had to stop citizens in your own country. Again, if you saw police departments buying that type of ammunition, not that much, it would make perfect sense. Well, they're cops, they've got handguns, right? They've got sidearms. That's exactly the kind of ammunition that is needed. So yeah, what's the problem? You wouldn't think anything of it. Now, if they bought, 1.6 billion, you might think something of it. To wonder what kind of bad guys are they expecting here in the future. So that's for us. We are the enemy. And that means they know the end of the democracy cycle is coming, and they don't want to come into place or to come replace their democracy. What they know is coming. And again, the next cycle, if memory serves me right, is anarchy. And under anarchy, their whole voting system, their whole appointing judges system doesn't work. It's null and void. So you can see why they certainly don't want anarchy. Well, the bottom line is no one really wants anarchy, because anarchy is not good for anybody. But according to the cycle, again, if memory serves me correct, that's what's coming next. So they have to prepare in advance because they know it's coming. So again, someone like Rand Paul filing a class action lawsuit against, God in Chief Obama for his NSA spying. Which, yes, guess what? It was done under George Bush, who, matter of fact, when was it instilled? Under George Bush Jr. So for all the Democrat haters and Republican haters, and you got both your guys, both presidents, doing the same damn thing, violating the same rights, the same exact way. Now, when Hitler took office, he changed all the laws and made that kind of like a lawsuit from Rand Paul, made it completely illegal. So if they were to do that now, Rand Paul, sorry buddy, you can't file a lawsuit. You can't file a lawsuit because it's illegal. And as a matter of fact, he wouldn't have even attempted it if it was illegal, because he'd be sent to some, dungeon somewhere for even trying to. Again, you'd have to ask, is that a representative democracy? No, it's not. So, currently, you can still file a lawsuit, but they've got control over the judges, which is probably why they don't care. We don't need to put those rules in, those laws in like Hitler did, because we already got our guys in positions of power who will rule against those bringing the lawsuit. So we'll just give you a shell of a democracy so that you think you vote, you think your voting matters. None of it matters at all, not even a little bit. Because again, you get someone in there like Rand Paul, even the Congress, what can they do against the spying and whatnot? Nothing. You've got the president issuing executive orders, and then you've got the Supreme Court saying, yep, everything he's doing is constitutional. That's why we had these three branches of government, right? Where we're told checks and balances so that not one group, one branch could get too powerful. Well, 2 out of 3, 2/3, seems to be the magic number, obviously. Because if you control the president or the executive branch, and you control the judicial branch, then what? Then everything you say is law. I pass executive order, they'll tell you, yep, it's lawful. And his executive order, it's basically a new law, isn't it? No, it's just an executive order, but it's kind of like a law. You have to obey it like a law. Okay, so doesn't it have to come from Congress? Nope. Supreme Court says no. Doesn't have to. Supreme Court says that a corporation is now a person and can give unlimited funds to any campaign, politician's campaign they want to. Supreme Court said so. I guess it's like God said so. God said so. Must be law. Take care.